If you're looking for the soul of the scene, just tap the Backstage Podcast. Yeah.
Back to dignity, that's the call of the day. Where purpose hits different and hope finds its way. Investing in people and helping folks win at life. Turning struggle into power, turning pressure into light. Pull back the curtain, let the real ones speak. Truth in the stories that we drop each week. From the front line hustle to the heart chat. The Backstage Podcast is where it's at. When the world gets heavy, come and take your seat. Where the mission is strong and the message is deep. Back to dignity. We're on that path, so step in the circle where the truth feels right. Where the
part of society, and like Makai wasn't even 3. I hadn't even thought that far, but just that single conversation just gave me a different mindset. I'm like, damn, is it gonna be that hard? Because he was in this program, and I was like, they had like a 85% recovery rate.
Of recovery from what though?
From autism.
Oh, really?
That he was in, and
is
then
that even possible? Like, is that a real number, a statistic?
I learned later on. So this is called like the Lovis model, and I don't want to get geeky about it, but it was like the hottest thing going at the time with ABA. And it's like you don't necessarily Gotcha.
All right, I think we're back on here, so we're gonna continue our conversation. So, Cliff, we're gonna continue what we were talking about off the screen.
Sounds good.
But let's dive right into. We read an article stating that the city of Phoenix. Again, I don't have the date on the article exactly, but we had a recent article. The city of Phoenix was rated number 1, this top standard at all the cities in America, as the number 1. City for inclusion when it comes to those with disabilities.
Okay.
So we read the article, and what prompted me for this question would be like, handicap parking. I noticed in the city of Phoenix, there's to me, in my perspective, there's a good amount of handicap parking. Now, I don't know how many it is compared to the number of people with special needs or any disabilities. I don't know the ratio to it, right. But I typically see there's plenty when I go to the parks, when I go to Costco and other grocery stores, especially Walmart,
right?
In the malls, there are handicap parking spots available. But I do notice that they fill up really quickly in Walmart. I see that they're filled up, and then, and I think some of the malls, they fill up, especially around the holidays, they kind of all filled up, right?
True.
So my question for you in the audience would be, what are your thoughts on handicap parking spots? The latest I looked at, the fine, if somebody who parked there that did not demonstrate as far as a placard or a sticker on their car, on the tag, that they had, a handicap or a disability with the placard, then there was a fine for $250. That's kind of what I've seen. And I've also seen them like maybe up to $500. And I know in America right now, we're going through this inflationary issue. I think it's going down now. And there's a whole affordability thing that everybody's talking about. So with that, it's $250, because it's been $250 since I've known it. Again, it could have been lower, I don't know, but I just kind of seen it at $250. Is that too low? Is that too high? Like, what are your thoughts on the whole handicap parking here in the city of Phoenix? Or you can talk about, anywhere in the nation.
I have two perspectives.
Okay.
One comes from my almost 17 years in law enforcement.
Oh yeah, that's a big one right there. 17 years.
And the other is from a personal point.
Let's hear the personal first, and then we go to the
right.
work.
So the personal is I never like to park. I don't think I would have parked in a disabled slot if it was the only place open, or regardless of the time of night. But I do know I had this incident recently. I was at a park.
Public park?
At a public park.
Okay.
My son and I will go there and we'll watch the soccer games or baseball games.
Very nice.
And they have a restaurant. There's a skating ring. Then they have an outdoor restroom facilities. Now, typically on any day that we go there and hang out, or either on the weekend or during the day, there's always disabled parking available.
You say typically on the weekend, you say, or just
Ju-
anytime,
we-
anytime,
any
of the day?
time of the day.
Okay.
Any time of the day.
Okay.
So on my car, I have a placard that hangs in the window. On my truck, I have disabled plates. So this particular day, as my son and I are trying to go to the bathroom, all the slots are taken up.
Okay.
Now, normally it wouldn't be a big deal to me, but as I'm passing these vehicles, I've noticed some they don't have a placard, they don't have a plate, and all these spots are taken up.
How many spots we talking? 2 or 3, 5
No,
or 6,
this is
10 or 11?
like close to like 12, 10 to
Oh,
12.
that's a lot. And
Yes.
they're all taken.
All taken.
No placard, no plates, no evidence. that they have a
No,
disability.
for almost half the vehicles, or 67
Oh,
of
wow.
the vehicles.
Interesting.
So I got a little annoyed.
Mhm.
I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, of course.
But then I thought there's been times when I've been in my car, I'll get out and I'll forget to place the placard.
Ah,
So that was, I had given it some thought, like, well, maybe that's the case. But for one of the first times, I really felt like, I wanted to call the park police, or I wanted to call the police to address this matter.
Right.
And it was coming from a personal point. But I didn't.
mhm.
And
Tell me
because
why you didn't.
I didn't know how long it would take for someone to show up, if they showed up at all, or would anything be done. It's not like anyone had to follow up with me. It could have been seen as a nuisance call, or a low priority call.
Do the cops? Oh, okay. When cops get a call, like, do they look at it like a nuisance call? I know they can probably say low priority call, but do they,
Yeah.
they look at it as a nuisance call, or kind of, sort of, or
I would
how does
hope-
that look?
I would hope it wouldn't be considered a nuisance call, but probably a low priority.
Okay, but do they use terms like nuisance calls? Do they kind of look at things of that nature?
I think it might be internal.
Oh, internal.
Yeah, right, yeah,
unwritten. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes so they're human too, right? Like,
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Exactly. Not wanting to come off as unprofessional, but yeah.
So you got half the cars parked there that don't have a display of anything disability.
Right.
So you got frustrated, you and your son, or had to use the bathroom. There was no spots. Did you find a spot eventually?
Yeah, there
Right.
was other spots. They were just I probably could have stayed at the spot I was in, and we could have walked versus driving where I was to where there's typically parking.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I see. So again, what are your thoughts on handicap parking? Like, is it enough out there? Is it sufficient enough? Do we need more? Should the fines be higher? Should the fines be lower? Should the fines even be based on income? If you made $1 million, we're going to take, a percentage of your million of your income. If you make 10,000 a year, we're going to take a percentage of that. Like, what are your whole thoughts on it? Is it, I mean, any thoughts on it?
I think the current fee is probably fine.
That's a big fee, $250.
Yeah.
Just because you parked is kind of
Yeah.
it's a big number,
It is.
especially
it is.
$500, right?
I know. Income based, I don't even. There's so many nuances to that.
Yeah.
I don't know how it would really be enforced, because then it seems like you'd have to go to court, you'd have to prove your income, and even then it gets shady, because when you consider taxes, there's ways that you can write off things. Like,
Yeah, of
you may
course.
make,
Of course.
let's say you make $1 million or more,
Right.
but how you write off your
Of
expenses.
course. Of course. That's your what they call that line item, your gross net profit or something like that, on your taxes, your W-2. Is the one line, I think it's line 36, I can't remember, but that's your earned income is what it is.
Gotcha.
So your final number is your true earned income.
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of people digging in your money. That's invading just for parking. Like, well, that's a lot, man. Like,
Yeah.
just post whatever the fee is, post for everybody.
Yeah.
And then somebody may say, okay, well, if somebody's worth, 10 million or like an Elon Musk out there, they'll just keep parking there every time, and they don't care if it's a $250 fine. That's not a big deal.
Yeah.
My thing is that I'm sure there's something out there to say, okay, look, you've been cited, 3 times on the same issue. There's other consequences. then you got to go through the convenience of your car getting towed, possibly you park in the wrong spot, your car getting towed.
Yeah.
Nobody want to be inconvenienced like that, especially if
No.
you're high net worth. Typically, their time is more valuable than a lot of other things. So you got car towed, you got to figure all that out, where your car is. That's inconvenient. But again, I just had the question because City of Phoenix, the top rated city in America for inclusion. And I just thought handicap parking because I don't know, I just thought of it. I don't know why, but I did. But then I want to ask you, before we go into the cop situation your work situation, why do you think Phoenix is rated number one? Tell me in inclusion. What are your thoughts on it?
I don't really know why it is. And they specifically said inclusion, but inclusion can mean a lot of things. Like, does inclusion mean, adaptable parks, adaptive sports, housing? Like, I don't know specifically what they mean by inclusion, because my
That's a good
mind
question.
goes back to personal things when I know that there's services that aren't available for everyone, but maybe that's a separate category, where it's not so much inclusion.
As far as available services for everyone?
Yes.
That's a good dicing of it there, inclusion. So are you kind of, you say, is there anything in the world that's available for everyone though? For everyone. What thing in the world is available for everyone? I think there's a few things. It can be air, but it may not be clean air. It can be water, but not clean
Right.
water, right? So
Freedom being one of those things, your rights in the Constitution.
I see. So
But-
like a right, you saying like a right.
Well, you said like what are the things that everyone has
Yeah.
inclusion.
That's included in. Everyone's included in.
Right.
So I guess that
I guess those are things, but those things are probably debatable, but
Right,
not
that's
worth
fine.
discussing
right,
here.
right.
I don't know. I would just probably have to read a little bit more to be like, okay, what specifically are you talking about when you talk about inclusion?
I think it was talking about the housing, as far as I'm assuming there's builders here in Phoenix who are building homes that has wider, hallways, wider doors, that may already come built with, certain things that those with disability may need, like little bars and, things like that to keep them safe from falling and things of that nature. Maybe slip resistant floors or something of those on those lines or something. Maybe, I don't know. All right.
So here's something that the producer pulled up
Okay.
regarding Phyllis. 3 pillars of progress. 1, physical infrastructure, building more inclusive cities.
I see.
Phoenix adapted inclusive home design standard to help residents age in place, reduce costs, retrofit, and feel safer at home.
I see. That makes sense. That makes sense. So I like, so aging in your home, that, just kind of making it where they're safe at home. Now I will want to know how that looks. Is that a gate around the fence? Is there security that they got to go through to, get upstairs or wherever that's happening? But I think that's great that we're recognizing that matter.
Agreed.
I can say that me working in the industry, and then how I travel around a bit. I do admit that Arizona. I don't know if it's because I'm in the line of work, but I feel like we do a good job accommodating those with at least special needs. Again, I don't want to talk about all disabilities. I just know I work with special needs, and I think we do a good job of protecting their rights, providing them with like healthcare and things like of that, like housing, at least from my perspective. And then again, I understand that some people may be out there saying, well, we never got housing that we needed for our kid. I understand those out there too. I do, trust me, I do know that. So again, I know it's not a perfect way, but at least from where I sit, it seems like people are respected, with a disability, that from my point of view. But that's good to know that we're recognized in that way.
Absolutely. And that progress is being made.
Progress is being made,
Yeah.
and it's continual, right? And it should get better over time, hopefully.
Yes.
Now tell me about, you said something about you being a police officer. Like you had two perspectives, personal and the
Yeah.
handicap part, and then the police.
It's like the law's the law. No, it's just but no, I guess sometimes it would be a little frustrating when, you'll see a car doesn't have a placard, they're parked in a disabled slot. But again, now I can say like, well, there's been times I forgot my placard. And maybe my hard stance at the time wasn't always warranted.
As a cop.
Yes. It's like, oh, you don't have this. Oh, you don't have your driver's license. You're supposed to have it, right? Because, God, I've forgotten my driver's
Your wallet.
license,
You forgot your wallet, yeah.
everything.
It happens. It's just crazy when it happens, but it does happen. doesn't
It does.
I think
It
I
does.
forgot mine the other day, man. Seriously.
Yeah, I think I was just in that mind frame of like, this is the law. I'm here to, enforce the law.
Right.
Yeah.
So wrap this up. So from the professional police officer perspective, okay. So you're basically hard nosed about it. There's
I
no gray
probably
area.
was.
No gray area. That makes sense.
I was
right?
probably,
You're enforcing the
yeah.
law. Okay. So that's the two perspectives. All right. Now here's a question I have for you. So you don't have a disability, right? To my knowledge. Or you don't have to answer a question you don't want to. Let me ask this question this way. When your son is not in the car with you and you have a handicap placard in the car, or you have a tag on your license plate, a handicap sticker on your license plate, do you still, when you don't have your son with you, park in handicap parking?
I do, because I have a physical disability.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so it's I have the placard because of me, not necessarily.
Oh, I didn't. I
Yeah.
assume it was opposite.
Yeah.
But let's play with that scenario. If you did not have a disability, and one of your people in your family did, but the disability placard is attached to that car, now the question would be, if they're not with you, and you have the placard or the plate with a handicap, would you feel comfortable still parking in handicap parking?
No.
Tell me why.
It's again, like that person's not with me. I'm physically able to to walk the distance, and like unless it was attached to me, then I wouldn't. Even there's times it's like, oh, I know I could park there.
There's other parks.
Yeah, there's like there's other.
And I got my placard here. You wouldn't do it. Come on now. Come on.
I've definitely considered it, and I'm just like, I can't. So there's even been times, even with my placard, if I pull up somewhere, let's say there's available parking that's close, I don't necessarily park into the disabled slot because
really?
someone may need it a lot more than me.
So you consider it that way.
Yeah, I like to think that I am.
That's considerate, man.
Yeah, not maybe not considered about everything, but I do think about that because there's been times that I've parked and I know that I can park, and as I'm walking into whatever store and someone else comes up and there aren't any spaces, and this person they have their walker, they have their cane, they're struggling to get to like a motorized cart. Just like
So would you say that we need more handicap parking spaces based on what you're saying? It seems like we're I know we're limited, but are we
Yeah.
short?
I don't think
Is this sufficient
it's
enough?
one of those things where it will ever be sufficient
Makes
enough.
sense. Makes sense.
And there's probably going to be some certain facilities, restaurants where you're bound to have someone that has a disabled placard, but there may be limited parking at that facility.
I'm sure it happens all the time, like every
Okay.
day. Every day, I'm sure that happens.
Absolutely.
Interesting. Well, I guess it's not severe enough where it's on the news. I haven't heard anything about it, so I don't know if it's a mute point or not. But
Right.
just kind of interesting
Yeah.
to kind of hear your perspective on that.
But I would say this too. But I have been parked in a disabled spot, and as I'm departing a store or something, people are like going to the back of my vehicle to
Oh, they're gonna check.
Yeah, that I've had it where people have
Oh,
checked.
man.
But I guess I did the same thing when I was, riding around trying to
No,
find
but
a spot.
that's different. So you said you leaving and they physically go around and peek around the
Yeah.
back. That's a little bit different than you
Absolutely.
driving around
Yes, because they'll see me get out of the
and
vehicle.
looking stereotype you, right?
You're right. And then go and look at my vehicle. I'm like, I think that's a bit much, but it's a lot of ways you can handle the situation,
Tell me,
right?
let's hear it. I mean,
Well,
what
no.
do you mean? Let's hear it. What do you mean? Let's hear it.
There's a diplomatic way, or you could just be a little rude. But I just try to. I don't always say the things that are on my mind.
You can't.
I just try to
You don't
try
wanna
to
do
be
that.
diplomatic. I'm like, okay, you satisfied your curiosity. There wasn't an exchange, or there wasn't a need for an exchange to happen.
Right.
Or even like the times that I forgot my placard. No one said anything. Maybe people look. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say someone did confront me, like, hey, I just forgot. Yes, I do have a placard.
Would you do that? If somebody confronted you, would you show them evidence?
I think if someone confronted me, and and I don't know, I think if someone confronted me, I probably would.
See, that's man. I don't know, man. Like, I'm a type of person. I just feel like why are you invading my privacy now? Like, what you violate? What are you?
Right.
I'm one of those. Like, I'm not gonna bother you. You probably shouldn't bother me. If I'm parked here and you don't see what you want to see, then there's rules to how to figure out the answer. Like, you can, call the authority if you want. You can do what you want to do, but don't invade my privacy
Right.
for your curiosity. That's where I think that's where I draw the line.
Gotcha.
Like, why you bothering me? Like, I didn't call you over here.
No. I know.
That's where I stand on that.
In the particular case where this individual was looking at the rear of my vehicle, it was a much older person, different gender, and I just kind of let it.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe there's circumstances where I may not be so diplomatic about it, but this was someone of a different gender. They were older, and I just.
I hear
it
you.
wasn't.
I hear you.
That case, it wasn't worth it.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
Because again, I'm thinking that, I just kind of took my mind somewhere else. Just put it this way. Today in this country, people bother you in the kind of car you're driving. Like, they'll flip you off, give you a thumbs up. It's like, man, come on. Really? A car? Like, I just don't understand that part. I don't understand that. So I guess I got a little weird with it a little bit.
Yeah, but you're right. Some people can be far too involved in other people's lives.
Yeah.
It's funny to me now, but when my son and I are out together, he's always arm in arm with me.
All 100% of the time.
Yeah.
98%.
Probably 98% of the time. Sometimes I'm like, you can walk ahead of me. But I think he's conditioned to once we exit the vehicle, he's like arm in arm.
Interesting.
So we were at a Home Depot, and now he's older now, but this is probably about maybe 3 years ago. And in today's society, you don't know who's dating who.
That's right.
And why should it be any of your business?
Interesting.
So, but we walk into the Home Depot, arm in arm, and this gentleman's like, "Hey," I'm like, I'm thinking he's not talking to
me.
he's talking to somebody else, but then it gets closer. He's like, "Hey," I'm like, "Oh, he is talking to us," and so I turn around. He's like, "Is he old enough to be holding your hand?"
Oh, see, I would not like that.
And I was so taken aback. I'm like, well, one, he's not holding my hand. And I was so taken aback that I was finally able to muster, like, this is my son who has a disability.
Yeah.
Not that he needed to know, but I'm just like, what? Like, what are you insinuating? And then like, oh. But I wasn't in that moment of just like, are you bleepity bleep?
See, you in a good mood, you saying?
he caught me off guard. He really did.
I think that's, I mean, again, you can, you know, evaluate me, but I just feel like, you know what, man, like that's I'm not gonna tell you about my son. Number one, you don't need to know his disability unless I want you to know.
Mm-hmm.
Period. And calling me from afar like that, come on, man. Like, come on. What happened? What happened to us, man? Like, what happened to respect? What happened to you know, treating your neighbors like you treat yourself? What happened to all that stuff that we grew up with?
Exactly.
So that's where I have an issue. Like, don't scream across the store, you know, trying to embarrass me or my person I'm with. I don't care if it is my person, my partner. I mean, don't do that to me.
Agree.
I'm just one of those type of dudes, man.
We just we just don't mind our own business.
Like I don't. So he asked you, is he old enough to hold your hand?
Yeah.
Insinuate that you guys were together.
Yeah, maybe I'm grooming. He's a minor. Just you know, there's there's so much there.
You guys comment if you want to. I'm going to another topic. That's I don't like stuff like that. Like, I'm thinking about now, what if I would have heard that man yelling at somebody like you and your son? What would I have thought? I probably wouldn't have thought, I wouldn't have done anything. It ain't my business. Mm-hmm. But I would probably have read your face, the person that is kind of being targeted, seeing how you respond. And if you looked embarrassed or intimidated, then I would probably feel like I need to stick around to kind of see what was going to happen.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's kind of a sort of bullying in some many words. Like, there's something that's not correct with that situation.
True. You know, once I kind of, got past to the shop.
Right.
There's a few more words exchanged, but
what were they? What were the words? What is it?
I just inquired why it mattered to him.
What did he say?
It was just, he looks young and there was no type of an apology, I'll say. But I think once I kind of came to my senses and my response to him wasn't as polite as what I just let on, he probably wouldn't have apologized anyway. But, it's just, important, like, why does it matter to you?
Like, man, come on, man.
In, a little bit more colorful manner.
But we're talking about younger people. Let's just transition to kids a little bit.
Okay.
So I know there was an article out there about, I think it was an NCAA Division III, where now they implemented a program for mental health issues. I think it's across the board, at least in America, for NCAA Division III, where they kind of have they're training coaches and other personnel. I think 30 people per team or something like that.
Oh, okay.
To better deal with or know how to recognize or handle those with a mental health issue or special need. And then when I was looking at that article, again, I didn't look at a lot of detail, but when I saw the article, I heard about it. I was wondering how come Division II wasn't doing it and Division I wasn't doing it. Well, how come it's only Division III?
No, that is odd.
Right.
And I guess in that case, why isn't it? Is it just limited to sports, or do our educators get the same training?
Interesting. Good question. See, I need to probably go back and read that.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure there's a reason why somebody qualifies for the funding. And again, I don't know why specifically it's D3. That's kind of what caught me off guard.
Right.
Because when I first heard about it, I'm thinking, well, it sounded like a high school counselor. They kind of train in psychology and therapy. Or a guidance counselor, or then when you go to college, you have like academic advisors.
Right.
Typically, they kind of have a social studies or a social degree along with them. So I was thinking about that, but it seemed like there's a special funding specifically for mental health issues in the Division III athlete. But I didn't see anything about academics, but I can be wrong about that. I think it's called the First Aid Initiative or something like that.
Oh, okay.
So it, let's see, risk of suicide, that kind of thing. But that's interesting to know that that's available, because I'm sure there's a lot going on in today's world because of technology and social media that, people, I don't know what they're thinking. They may want to cause harm to themselves or others based on something that's online, or it's just a totally different generation than how we grew up,
It is. And it's encouraging that this type of training is available, and it just my inquisitive mind makes you want to think about how far does it branch out Do school age kids already receive something like that? Because it seems like, educators would have to be on like a higher alert, like you mentioned, social media,
Yeah.
bullying is an issue. You hear these stories of kids taking their
Yeah,
lives
yeah, exactly.
based on the inaction or maybe lack of perceived action that schools take. You know, I'm sure it goes beyond a parent wanting to find fault somewhere, but then they're dealing with grief at the same time. But like, couldn't that be important?
I just where to, like you say, draw the line, but I'm thinking like, how can a school keep up with that? Like, like a high school can have 2,000, 5,000 kids,
Yeah.
and then those kids got brothers and sisters and all that happening, and then if you're a university, you have hundreds of thousands, up to, you just have 1,000. I mean, a lot
Yeah.
of people. I just wonder how do you keep up with that? I just don't. Is there a solution to that part? I don't think there is.
I don't know. It's so easy to say, like, using that adage of it takes a village. So, like,
Mhm.
if you have a friend, you're close to someone, you heard, like, at least approach it. Now, what is the right way? Do you approach it with them?
Mhm.
Do you let someone in position know? That person can be, completely deny it. It's hard to say. I can't put my finger on it, but my daughter had an incident at her school where someone allegedly said, like, something bad's gonna happen tomorrow.
Told her that.
Well, she told one of her friends that, and my daughter went to school staff with her friend for support.
Okay.
So naturally, I want to know, like, okay, well, what's being done? And I was concerned enough that I actually went to the school, talked to the resource officer, like whoever will talk to me, be it the principal, resource
Somebody,
officer.
right?
I would like to know what's going to happen.
Right.
This is on a Friday, it was late in the day. But what I had found out, this person had already left for the day. Their parents were advised, but they weren't going to talk to the student until Monday.
But the parents were advised. The parents are going to talk to the. You don't know if the parents will talk to them. You don't know
yeah,
that,
I don't
right? You
know what
the
was
information.
said, but I'm thinking, like,
Interesting.
okay, well, like, once this person comes to the threshold of the school, we're going to address it. Like, well, what if they don't come to the threshold? Something could happen in the parking lot. But
Man.
I realize I'm creating scenarios that may not even happen, but it was a concern, and I guess I'm glad that it was addressed. But I'm thinking, like, I think I would have handled it differently.
How would you have happened?
I think I would have probably addressed it that day. You probably can't make the student come back to school.
So your daughter reported before that student went home, before they went home,
Yes.
for sure.
Yes.
Oh, I see. So it's like it needed immediate attention.
I would have thought, and I don't know how long it took for my friend's daughter and her to go to staff. I don't know the time period of how much time had lapsed, so on and so forth.
Is there a way you can tell us? 'Cause I know we're curious in the way that's not going to hurt, our, standings on YouTube. Like what was said? Like, can you tell us in a gentle way what was said?
Oh,
so we
that
can-
was just like something bad's gonna happen to
like
me.
was something bad, like what?
Didn't specify.
Oh no.
No,
But
didn't
I don't
didn't
like,
specify.
yeah, I don't know, man. Like I'm trying to see it from my kid's perspective. Something bad, man. What do you mean? Like nobody asked questions. The friend's daughter, your daughter's friend.
I don't believe they had asked
And
questions.
they said tomorrow, like it's Saturday, or like they said tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, this was. Wait a minute. I said it was a Friday, didn't I? I think it was or maybe they said it's gonna happen. Like whenever school resumes, something's bad's gonna happen. But yeah, I think it's more so a parent and just being concerned, like how. But I'm sure there's limits to what the school can do, what the resource officers can do. It's alleged it wasn't specific.
Yeah, they
A lot
still-
of variables.
They still question that person who made the threat. That's a threat, right?
Yeah, but I guess you start with reporting. I guess with anything, it's reported. There's it's on file. Not to single that person out, but like, maybe you keep an eye on them. Maybe maybe the counselor or something could be like, just a check in, a wellness check, like, how are things going? We notice like maybe you're a little tense, or I don't know the proper approach, and like maybe my view on it, maybe the schools don't have that type of freedom.
Well, it needs to be addressed, is what you're saying, though, right?
Yeah.
In an
Yeah.
immediate fashion, right?
Yeah. The resource officer, he gave me his card. He'd let me. He told me what he was able to tell me. It didn't necessarily put my mind at ease. I'm like, okay, they're aware. They have a plan.
Right. They have a process. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. I'm just thinking about, how we respond to that. But okay. Now again, we're talking about NCAA, and we're talking about coaches been, trained. I think there's like a minimum number of hours trained. I think 7 hours or so, something along those lines, to get a certificate. I think it's important, and I think any of us who deal with for sure children, for sure, probably anybody, for sure for certain children who influence kids. Again, coming from me as a youth football coach for the last 5-6 years or so. I know for certain I've ran into at least 2 kids for sure that it's been made aware to me that so-and-so has autism, or so-and-so deals with depression, and again, for me as a defensive coach, just basically a hard-nosed, like a linebacker type coach, there's certain things that linebackers have to do, and we have to, or they have to, basically, stop momentum,
Right.
make tackles. I mean, it's a physical game out there, even for youth. It's a safe game, but it's a physical game. And for me as a coach, I hold people responsible. If certain things are not done, I have to call it out and coach them up on it, right. And retrain or try to motivate or figure out what makes them tick or just what brings them down, like how they maneuver,
Right.
How what gets them going. So if I understand the much as I can, it helps me out. Now I'm not saying, okay, if so and so say diagnosed with autism, I'm not saying that everybody has to know. I'm not saying the peers have to know, but I think the people responsible need to know. You may have a kid, and I know we've had a kid before, that may have dealt with like asthma or just just a health issue.
Right.
Coaches most certainly have to know that, because what happens is that kid may be an athlete that plays both sides of the ball, offense and defense, and especially everything. And he's out there doing all this work and he has asthma. He's running a touchdown for 100 yards, and now we got him back on defense. Like, that's a lot. Like, we gotta know, those type of things. Right. Now, a kid who did not have asthma, we can just say, okay, well, you're out of shape. Get yourself in shape. We need to run you more in practice so you can get in shape to handle the workload. Yeah. But if they have a health condition, we need to know about it, right?
Agreed.
And then when we talk about depression, so I know there's some kids, and it can be adults too. It can be NFL personnel, it can be NBA people, just it can be anybody. But I know I work with youth. You may have a kid who's a player who has depression. The issue is depression, and he may blow an assignment or get beat for a touchdown or miss a tackle. If I knew a kid had depression, I definitely have to be caring or be responsible in my response to that missed assignment, because I really come at them the way most coaches would. You miss assignment, you cause us to lose a football game, or you gave up 7 points. Like, there's something to be said about that.
Right.
Some accountability there. But again, I'm not saying treat people with depression better or worse. I'm just saying you got to kind of know their chemical makeup and how to address them, because again, if you come really hard on them, like, you can really shut them down.
Right.
You can have them down spiral, over the weekend, and don't want to leave their room or whatever. It has an effect on them.
Absolutely.
But I noticed some of the coaches, and again, I'm not saying anything bad about anybody, but I think knowing people, again, I'm in the industry, the field of special needs. it's important to me to know who I'm working with,
Absolutely.
so I know how to better address them. And I know some of the coaches, when they heard about the special needs, it was kind of still normal because they want to treat them different than everybody else. And I trust me, I understand that.
Yeah.
But for me, coming from the field, I understand I'm not going to treat them differently, but I have to address them appropriately
Yes.
based on their diagnosis.
Yeah.
So I think it's important. You have any thoughts on like sports in general with youth or adult sports with just the training on how to address those special needs? Because I noticed also in the news over the last few years ago, maybe 5 years ago or so, that police officers are now being trained in, what is it, mental health training. And again, I don't know in your day when you was a cop, if it was trained in mental health or everybody was just a criminal who did something bad, or was there like a mental health approach to it? You know what I'm saying? Because I know when they call the cops now, if it's mental health, they kind of send another, like a mental health crew of police rather than the non-mental health police.
Right.
You have any thoughts on any of that?
So with the sports made very interesting and valid points. You're learning how to address a person without singling them out, which is probably
for sure.
Definitely the best approach.
For sure.
But sometimes we live in this world where not everyone wants you in their business as well.
It's true.
But and that can be harmful. Maybe their parents have it under control, but I think it's important to at least maybe mention it, like, hey, this is what our child is dealing with. We just wanted to give you a heads up.
That's very important to me.
Yeah, it's like and maybe you don't have to do anything, but the courtesy of letting you know, and then maybe them not knowing what you do aside from teaching you sports. And like, oh, you know what? Well, maybe you would be a good person to talk to. Or like, we know that our kid's in good hands with you.
Understanding there, right?
Absolutely.
Camaraderie there.
Yeah. As far as like the training, I want to say we probably didn't have training to address like any type of mental or physical disabilities. God, I'm trying to think how long I had been in. But it was easily 7+ years.
And there was no training.
Not for that. It's just like, this is how you encounter this. This is how you conduct a field interview. These are the positions when you're addressing someone. But not like, if you're coming across this person and maybe they're having a mental crisis or there's a disability, like that really wasn't talked about. We didn't receive training on that. But I guess again, like it's progression,
right?
It's finally taken place. Right. Maybe it's not always handled the right way, and there's times you have to make split second decisions.
For sure.
But the fact that it's being addressed is definitely positive.
It is very positive, isn't it?
Yeah, I hope it makes some leaps and bounds in terms of how that happens. Years back, the story about a health worker who was trying to help a patient with a mental illness who was in a crisis, and the health worker gets shot.
Oh,
I think he was trying to make sure that person wasn't harmed in any way.
And he got shot for what reason? Because
I don't remember, and I'll have to go back and look up the story, and maybe the next time that we talk, I can kind of finish up that story. But first questions, you always want like, how did that happen?
I can tell you why. I can tell you from my experience, and I had a personal experience, and I had an experience, just being in my position at this company, where some of my staff had the experience. My experience when I had a group home, we had a member that I used to tend to care for, provide services for, that anytime he didn't get his way, like he's gonna break something.
Okay.
The door's gonna break, a hole's gonna be in the wall, the van window's gonna be broken, something's gonna break, right? He had to break something. He'd go in his room and break his own toy. Something's gonna break. And it was one day we went to a pawn shop to buy like a I don't know, PlayStation or whatever, a gaming system. And this pawn shop we knew had gaming systems. That's why we went to this pawn shop. And that day, they didn't have what he wanted. Like, I don't know if they were out or they didn't have exactly what he wanted. I don't know. I just know they didn't have it. And we're walking out the pawn shop, and I'm doing my job, just kind of watching his behavior. He was a tall guy, tall, has some strength to him, a tough, strong man. And sure enough, he started just kicking the van. And anybody who knows about, this type of field is that, you're not trying to harm anybody as a provider. You're trying to prevent property damage. You're trying to prevent, members from hurting themselves and hurting others. In this situation, the issue is that it's causing property damage, and he can possibly hurt himself by kicking the tire and like just kicking a car and putting dents in the car. So I had to use a technique that, I don't want to get into it, but it was a proper technique that I had to use to, intervene in the situation. Right. Gotcha. And we're out in public right here on like Bell Road. And the pawn shop owner came out, and I didn't know him, but he's seen me in there a few times. Okay. So like a few times. And he, when you walk out to a situation, somebody, restraining somebody, and somebody's trying to, cause harm, like it looks very intense, right? It looks like it's a fight, like you don't know the difference, right? So he came out, pawn shop owner, and just basically said something. I don't know what he said, because again, I'm in the heat of the moment, trying to keep the members safe. And I'm a type of guy where, look, I'm not gonna argue with you. I just tell him to go ahead. He said he's gonna call the cops. I said, well, go ahead. I felt that way. I'm that type of person. I'm one of those people where if you're gonna say you're gonna call the authority, you have the right to, feel free to do it. Like, I'm not doing anything I shouldn't be doing right now. So I told him to go ahead and call. And I told him, I kind of told him doing my job. I think I told him a little bit of information to make him feel at ease. But if you want to call the cops, like, trust me, feel free to do it. And he ended up not calling. And then the member, obviously calmed down, and then we got him in a vehicle, and then we went back to the house. But that was a situation where, again, the pawn shop owner didn't know what was going on. Right. I'm in the public, and again, for me, I try not to wear like a company shirt. Okay. I know some companies do, and I can see why they do, to identify themselves and who they are. Right. But at the same time, you can look at it from the other way. If you want to blend into the community, should you wear a company shirt, or you just kind of just go as you are, and everybody's kind of part of the community? So it's to me, it's two parts, two sides to it. So I didn't have a company shirt. I was just, licensed and everything like that, do my job. But he didn't call the cops, but it could have got to a situation where he called the cops, and who knows what could have took place after that. Yeah. And then there's situations where we have, providers who had to use a method to keep a member safe, and they're out in the public, and and then you got, just certain issues with, how the racial makeup of people, yes. Where somebody may see something a certain way, this race, that race, and it gets kind of weird, and and then people in the public interfering, hey, you leave them alone, it's like, okay, I'm just trying to keep everybody safe, that's all. But so that's my saying on that. I don't know how we got on that topic or how that came about. But I guess we're talking about kids and trying to, just know who you're working with, and, and then I think we start talking about cops and like the training and stuff like that. Absolutely. Because again, I've been at many group homes where I saw members get in cops' faces. Like, I ain't gonna say threatening cops, but like posturing, like I'm gonna knock you out, policeman, right? Gotcha. And to me, when I first saw it, I thought it was the strangest thing ever. First of all, you never do that to a cop, you got a gun right there, right? And so I'm like, whoa. So I always ask, hey, can I go ahead and handle this? I don't want to jump in there and all of a sudden, right? So I would say, even though if I work at the group home, I still say, okay, you mind if I handle this? And then I kind of take it from there. Right. But the one cop that I saw this encounter where the memory got into the cop's face, he handled it well. Like he didn't like have to. He wasn't showing like he had the power. He wasn't on a power trip or anything like that. He was restrained. He knew he was in a group home. He didn't have an ego about him. He just was. He stood up for himself, you know, as a man, as a law. But he allowed us to kind of handle him. The member. But you know, I know it don't happen like that all the time. I know that.
No. A few years back, I was parked beside this vehicle and I got out. They had this sticker on it, and it went to the effect of like, you know, there's someone in this vehicle who has autism. They may not be able to verbalize. They may not listen to commands. It was for if they got pulled over. And I had that thought of like, this is genius.
What was it? Say it one more time.
It was basically
it was a sign.
like a magnet or something on the window that stated.
That's important.
Yeah, but you know, I still haven't purchased one yet. I need to
create one, man.
I do, and I'm like,
I think you probably should do that sooner than later because
Yeah.
you just never know. Man.
you don't, you absolutely don't, because
Man.
I think about that, just like, man, like if I get pulled over and I'm a speeder,
Oh man,
I've just been lucky. But like that could like, okay, you're speeding, we're taking you in, and this person, and I'm like, if I'm like, no, hey, he doesn't understand and he may not obey commands, it's like, are you really listening to me at that point, or is just like you're addressing my infraction and the seriousness of it? But I thought that was so amazing that I hadn't seen more of those actually. You know, I actually need to purchase one
I
today.
would, because I'm one of those kind of people. I'm cautious because I don't like to see anybody get hurt. I don't want to get hurt, and I try to respect everybody around me. And you know, just you know, I don't know. Like our society's kind of tense. It's kind of tense.
Yeah.
I know we're on YouTube. It's kind of tense.
Yes. Yes.
So I think that'd probably be a good idea to just, you know, but who would say that when you get pulled over, somebody would actually read that?
That too.
But still, it helps, doesn't it? Because they may have somebody who they know that too. So I think that's a topic for another day. I think it's an important topic. You know, I think it helps everybody involved, the people who are driving the car with the person with the disability and the person who, you know, pulls over, you know, the car, you know, they're not knowing. I think it helps everybody. It doesn't hurt anything, right?
No, definitely doesn't hurt anything.
But at the same time, now I would think, well, what about you just about your day going to the grocery store? Do you want everybody in the parking lot to know who's in your car? Do you want them to know that too? Or because they're going to be able to read it too?
True. I don't know. I think the community that I live in, you rarely see me without my son. And there's been times when if I'm not with him, they're like, is he okay? But I think I'm at the point I would lean more towards caution than being concerned about.
I would too.
Yeah. Because, you know, and I will talk to my son. I will talk about my son to anyone who inquires, because there's been positive experiences, unlike the Home Depot incident. But people, they're like, hey, I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, man, that's a good question.
Yeah. And then like, cause you know, my nephew, or they know someone, or like, what is specifically, and sometimes there's, you know, like, well, how old is he? My child's 8.
Right.
What have you experienced up to this point? So there's been more positive interactions than that unfortunate thing.
Let me ask this question. Have there been any questions to you and about your son from those with somebody who don't have a family member who has a disability?
Yes, I can think of this one gentleman that I frequent this one convenience store, and you know, he sees them with me, and you know, he's kind of curious.
That's
I'm like,
cool.
yeah,
That's cool. That's pretty cool. I like that, man. That's awesome.
it is. I think I may have shared with you too. Sometimes, you know, when people ask, it's kind of therapeutic. You know,
That's for you, huh? To talk about
it
it.
is. It is to talk about it, and you know, and who knows, you know, whatever information that I dispel, maybe they will have, maybe they will run across someone or a family member in their own lives. They're like, hey, I remember a conversation and you
They
mentioned
will remember that conversation.
Yeah.
Because that's a unique, one of a kind type conversation. You don't have those all the time.
no. So I like those interactions. I think they're all warranted. They're valid.
Okay. Well, hopefully, everybody in the world out there follow along with, the various topics we had today. Again, we're here to just bring conversation to life where, we talk about things that a lot of people don't, that could be uncomfortable. But at the same time, is no harm involved. I work in the industry. Clifton, he has a ton of experience. He mentioned his family member who has a disability, so he has a ton of experience. But at the same time, we're not experts in the field, but we're just having to me, a healthy conversation, healthy dialogue. And again, you guys can comment on these videos. We plan to continue with these videos. And we'll continue to, eventually get, experts and, subject matter experts come in and kind of have conversations as well. But again, it's an open forum. If you want us to talk about something, just write in a comment. If you write us, we'll respond to you. And again, we're just here to, be a voice and be a microphone out there. Cliff, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, concur with everything that was said. And please, if there's been something that we've conveyed that you have questions about, or maybe you have a little bit more information than we discussed, feel free to chime in with that as well.
Absolutely. All right, till next time, you guys take care.
And I know that we I just forgot his name. Sterling had mentioned, like, if we put a title, that's what people are trying to look for. But like I said, sometimes these conversations, they're spontaneous, they're organic.
That what makes it better.
I think so.
That's what that's a real conversation.
Yeah.
Back to dignity, that's the call of the day. Where purpose hits different and hope finds its way. Investing in people and helping folks win at life. Turning struggle into power, turning pressure into light. Pull back the curtain, let the real ones speak. Truth in the stories that we drop each week. From the front line hustle to the heart-to-heart chat. The Backstage Podcast is where